So Lumpur began answering a question about why we still have pain in the body when the body is just the four elements. It's not self. Why do we experience pain? And Lumpur said, it's just the way it is. It's just the truth of it. It's pointing to the truth, pointing out the truth, or reminding us of the truth that these four elements that come together and make up a human being, they're still unstable in themselves. They're impermanent things, subject to change, instability. When they come together, that formation we call a human body is unstable, subject to change, just as the individual elements that make up the body are unstable, subject to change. Most obviously, we're all subject to aging. This body is changing, the cells are being born, growing, dying every day, every moment of every day. The body changes, it's going through all kinds of changes through the aging process. As the body gets older, it starts to wear out in different places. As having a human body, you have friction, your limbs move, your muscles move, you get different kinds of friction, different kinds of wearing out, wear and tear on this body. And so pain starts to arise because of that. It can't stay perfectly, feeling perfectly good and without pain all the time because we use this body. We stand up, we sit down, we use the limbs and so on. And just like a machine or a vehicle, you keep using that machine, that vehicle, well, the screws start to loosen, different working parts of that machinery rubbing against each other. If the lubrication starts to disappear or wear out, then you start to get friction. That's equivalent to pain in the body. Or just the normal functions of a human body, they are not without pain and without some discomfort. Every day you feel hunger as you digested your food from your last meal. The body starts to feel hunger and it gets agitated by that. That agitation can be expressed. People can't sit still when they're very hungry. They can't stay composed and peaceful because of the effects of hunger. You can see it in their face, in their actions. If somebody's very hungry, then they become very agitated and uncomfortable. And this is the pain of hunger. Even when we eat, though, the feeling changes, but it can still have its effect. You get pleasant feeling arise as you fill up with food, but then you can become intoxicated or as if drunk with that pleasant feeling. Then we have different reactions again. We might feel drowsy, or we might become excited and stimulated because of the energy of the food. And so constantly this body is expressing its unstable, impermanent nature in this way. Or the type of food we eat. If we eat with someone not very particular about our food, we eat all kinds, many different kinds of food without much thought, then that can have its effect on us as well. It can affect the diet we eat, can affect our health, how we feel, whether we become exposed to illness and so on. If you eat a lot of different kinds of food, you're always experimenting in that, well, that can be quite risky in its own way. What we drink also affects us. How we drink affects us. Different animals, different beings don't all drink in the same way. Have you ever noticed, like some animals, when they drink water, they suck it in like we do. We drink from a straw. When we drink, we suck from the cup, the water down into and swallow it into our stomach. Some animals lap water up, like a dog or a cat. They'll lap their drink. They won't suck it. What we eat affects the body in different ways because food is made up of different chemicals and has different properties. You eat Most of the fats we get, people often say, well, we get fat from animals, but actually it originates from all the vegetation that those animals eat. If we're eating meat, or if we eat vegetables and cereals, well, they give us a lot of saturated fats and so on as well. Vitamins we get from fruit and vegetables. Minerals we get from the earth, but via vegetation. All the foods we eat, these are the way we accumulate these 4 elements that make up a human body. But how much we eat and in what proportion, well, that will vary between person, and it can give its effect on the body. It affects our health, how we feel, how much pain or how good we feel. All many different effects come from the type of food we eat. Really, we should perhaps just consider that pain is normal then. For having a human body, you should expect to have some pain and discomfort. That's why the Lord Buddha had us to recollect this daily in the chant that we do. I have not gone beyond illness or sickness. It's normal for me. It's natural to have some pain or sickness in life. We try to get rid of it sometimes. If we have an operation, well, we take anaesthetic and they completely knock us out. We go unconscious for a period of time as a way to avoid pain. But obviously you can't always live in a world where you're anaesthetised from pain. So you also have to learn just to reflect wisely on it. Sometimes just to be patient with it and tolerate it. Other times just to realise, well, that's just all it is. And we probably already have a certain resilience towards pain. There's all kinds of little pains and things that we know are just normal for the body and we don't think much about them. Whereas other kinds of pain, perhaps more intense pain or an unusual pain we haven't had before, well, it makes us think a lot and worry a lot. Especially with aging. With aging we see change coming to the body and it causes a lot of worry and concern. But even then you could look and say, well, aging has been going on since the beginning of life. It's not like the only aspect of aging is in old age. As a baby grows into a youth, into a young person, that's aging as well. Except it's the period we say that somebody is growing up. So we don't tend to worry too much about it or think about it in a negative way. But the aging that really worries us is, when you reach middle age and start getting older, towards old age and towards the end of your life, you might say it's the period of decline of the body, and that does worry us. But it's just as true as the aging of growing up. They're both aging, aren't they? The changes of this body. So the Lord Buddha taught us to know and understand the truth in this way, to familiarise ourselves with these truths, reflect on them and come to accept them in our heart. Not to fight the truth, not to try and resist it or make things different than they are. You can't win against nature because nature is just the way things are. You can't change that. If you try to beat nature, then you actually turn it into an enemy. It becomes something harmful to you. So then we have to learn how to live wisely and at peace with nature, live in harmony with it. To do this we have to develop right view, a right understanding and a wisdom that's where we can see these truths and understand them for ourselves, so that the mind is clear on this. This is similar with the way we live in our relationships with other people in society, in the family and elsewhere in life. And the Buddha taught us to learn to live wisely and skillfully with the other people in this world, in society. He taught us to follow the principles of the Karawasa Dhamma, the 4 Karawasa Dhamma. This is the Dhamma for lay people or householders. That is Dhamma, which means like restraint, practice restraint and learning to not follow every mood and display every mood you have. Khanti is patience, learn to be patient with things. Chaka, learn to have a sense of generosity towards other people. These kind of qualities. But at the same time we also have to reflect that in society everybody is different. They all have their own karma, their own personality, their own character. and it's impossible to make everyone the same. It's just like the forest here. You walk into the forest, and if you look closely, you'll see every single tree is different. Some trees are taller, some are shorter, some are thicker, some are thinner, some are dark coloured, some are light coloured. But it would be impossible to make every tree the same. Similarly with people. People all have their different characters, different personalities, different attitudes and views on things. The different people that make up society, you can see that at different age groups, there's different things that make them happy. When people are young, they tend to be more carefree, and the thing that makes them happy is having friends, being able to make friends, so they can have friends to play with, friends to go out with, and enjoy their company. When we get older, you could say we're in the age group when we work, and when we work, we want to be able to do the work that we have to do properly, get it organised, get it completed successfully. That's what makes us happy. We feel satisfied that we can do the jobs in life that we have to do. When we get older, you could say the happiness of an old person is based more on their past experiences. From their youth through their middle age, they like to reminisce and remember the different things they've done, the places they've gone, and so on. Another kind of happiness of people is having good health. Whatever our age, we like to have good health so that we can be mobile and do the things we want to do. Young people, they find happiness in having friendship, and of course that leads to love as well. So again, one of the happiness of young people tends to be falling in love and having a companion. Those of you might say the middle years of life, it's the rewards that come from the work that they do. So as people, once they've maybe established a family and they're working, their main happiness comes, the more money they earn, the material wealth that they gain. For old people, again, the happiness is talking about the past events of their life, the different experiences they have, sharing that, telling others, advising others, and so on. So we learn to reflect like this just to get to know society better, to know the way it is, to know the way people are, to know the differences between people, and to know that each part of society as it is, to know the family, the nature of a family, what it's like, to know the people where the place we work, what that's like, and so on. So we develop different qualities in order to be successful in our practice of the Dhamma and in our lay life. So the first of those Karawasa Dhammas, the Dhamma, this word Dhamma, it's not the same as the word Dhamma, which means truth. It's a slightly different spelling. It means restraint. So it means learning how to restrain one's moods, particularly one's negative or harmful moods that might lead one to act or speak in harmful ways. One has sometimes to learn to restrain them with mindfulness, awareness, and develop more composure in our actions. Another quality that supports this is the quality of Dabba. Dabba means to be resilient, enduring in what we do, to have endurance, to be strong in the things that we have to do. You can see how people, when they lose these qualities of restraint and endurance, then they get into trouble and suffering, don't they? So you go out to do some business or to meet somebody, and then conditions change and you're not able to complete that business or meet that person. You're not successful in that thing that you set out to do. If you don't have the Dhamma of restraint or endurance, well, then you might start to get upset about what happened, the fact that you didn't meet the person or succeed in what you were trying to do. You might get upset, irritated, and so on, and that might lead to further problems. You might get caught into different negative moods and thoughts, and that could lead to, being unhappy in yourself, or it might even lead you to have conflict with others. You might blame others for what went wrong, or for your failures or mistakes, or just for the lack of success. If you really get into that habit, well, you might end up losing friendships or business partnerships and so on. So we have to be able to learn to look at life from many angles. You could say this is the quality of sampajanya, having an all-round awareness, an all-round knowing of what we're doing at any time. We can't just take our own personal moods as the standard for our behavior, because those moods are not always wise and correct. Sometimes they're negative, unwholesome moods, and if we just follow them, well, our behavior might lead us into suffering. You can't expect everyone else to be the same as you. You can't expect everyone else to do as you wish. And sometimes people don't do what we want. So we have to see that everyone has their own character, and even though we're all, you could say, human beings, the same kind of animal in that sense, but we all have different characters, personalities and karma. So this is wisdom, isn't it? Using wisdom to help you understand the world better. It leads to a smoother practice in your life. You know, your relationships with others are more smooth, more even, because you're using wisdom. The activities you have to do are more smooth, more even, because you have wisdom and understanding as you perform those activities. And it means we can be more flexible and mobile in our life. We can move in different groups of people because we understand them. Coming to the monastery here, this is coming to get to know a different social group again. You know, this is the social group of the Sangha, and the behaviour and speech of Sangha is slightly different from lay people maybe. And when you come into the monastery, you realise Sangha, they act with a sense of integrity, sincerity and truthfulness. All of the Sangha members, even though they have their own different personalities, they all have the same standard of behaviour, of sila, and a similar outlook. They have a similar view on the Dhamma that's in line with truth. So although they are different personalities, it means they can live together in very good harmony in a balanced way. So we should understand that if we use wisdom in this way, then it's understanding the world, and it can bring us to be at peace with the world. It's not that we're peaceful because we're trying to make everyone exactly the same or equal. That would be impossible, wouldn't it? But we can understand people and use that understanding as a way to have skillful relationships with other people. So the society that we live in is a very varied place. There are many kinds of people, varied kinds of people in it. The word we use for it sometimes is the world. We say the world is full of different kinds of people. Some might see that all these differences could be a cause for conflict, disharmony and problems between people. But if you see it in a more positive light, you could say that each part of society, all these different people with their different backgrounds and characters, they're all part of the whole, and they all have an integral relationship supporting each other with their particular strengths and different qualities. And all these different groups, you might say, add to the whole. They give something to the whole. Just like you could look in society, there's all these groups of people. If you divide society up by professions, there's so many different groups of professional people who work in different lines in their life. So there's teachers and engineers and construction workers and so on, just for example. They all have their role to play in society as a whole. If we see the value of these different groups in this way, then we can see that they all are supporting the whole society, so all of us benefit from the variations and the differences between people. We can also see that these 4 Karawasa Dhammas are the foundation that allows people with their different backgrounds and characters to live together peacefully and harmoniously. So that is Satcha, being honest and truthful; Dhamma, being restrained; Khanti, being patient; Chaka, to be generous. And these qualities support peaceful, harmonious relations between people when we apply them, when we practice them. Brings up a sense of tolerance between people and a good environment for us all to flourish in and develop ourselves. It's a bit like looking at, say, a building that's made from timber. If you look in a house or some kind of building made out of timber, there might be many different kinds of timber that were used to make that one building. They're all put together with nails and screws and so on, but in the end you get one good strong building. That's the ultimate whole, or the expression of all these different component parts, is that you get a building, a house or something. But if you break it down, well, it's made up of many different types of timber. So these four Karawata Dhammas, the Dhammas of lay people, are the foundation for successful society. If we have this sense of truthfulness, integrity, honesty in the way we deal with others and ourselves, this is how our relationships can become successful, because there's no deception, suspicion between people. When we lose this, we lose the sense of our personal integrity and honesty. Well, of course, problems arise, and it can be a cause for disaster and the failure of our relationships with others, and of course even conflict. The cause of this would be those internal qualities, the kilesa, greed, anger and delusion. One who practices the Dhamma, then, they're practicing to purify their mind from these qualities of greed, anger and delusion, so that they can free themselves from suffering. Greed, anger and delusion, whenever they arise, are a cause of suffering. But in their nature, they're actually just moods. We say Dhamma aramana, just moods of the mind that arise and pass away. They're not without any real essence of themselves. They're just conditions, passing conditions. And if we practice correctly towards them, then they don't have to create any suffering for us or others. Just as the Lord Buddha taught the lady Visakha, gave her his metta and explained to her how to live peacefully in the family. She had a very large family to live peacefully with. She had 20 children. Very rarely do you meet a family where there are 20 offspring in the family. The most I've ever come across, I once went to a funeral where there were 18 siblings, brothers and sisters, all in one family. But the Lord Buddha taught Visakha, the basic teaching was, don't take the fire within outside, and don't bring the fire from outside in. If you contemplate this is referring to the fire within is your own internal suffering created by your own greed, anger and delusion. And don't take it out means don't display it in your behaviour. Don't let it be a cause for you to act in unskillful ways and harm others, or just let your suffering be a cause for you to harm others in your behaviour. Don't follow your greed, anger and delusion. The Buddha said greed, anger and delusion is like a fire. It burns the mind up. Raka ki, dosa ki, moha ki, these are the fires of the defilements. One should practice these dhammas of khanti, patience. Dhamma is restraint. Dabba is like strength of mind, reticence. Learn to bring up these qualities, even if you do have greed, anger and delusion arise in your heart. Bring up these qualities to restrain it. Be patient with it and don't follow your negative moods or act on them. When you practice restraint, then you're allowing your mind to just observe these moods arise and pass away of themselves. You're seeing that they're just impermanent thoughts, impermanent mental states that arise and pass away without really harming you. That's if you practice with restraint, with patience. Similarly, if you don't get too caught up into the problems of other people, their suffering, their problems, and you don't start bringing that into your heart, thinking about it and getting worked up by it, then you're not bringing in the fires from outside into your own heart. We have to learn how to keep our heart peaceful and pure. It's like the old saying, if the water is clean, then the lotus flower will not go rotten. The clean water here refers to your mind. If you keep it clean and with practice of mindfulness and awareness and wise reflection, then the lotus, which is your own innate good qualities, that won't get rotten, it won't degenerate, they'll be preserved. Or another old saying that they might apply here is, you say a rooster is beautiful because of its feathers. People are beautiful because they know how to practice and improve themselves and adjust themselves for the better. So we have to learn how to look after our minds. Another of those qualities of the householder's dhammas that helps with this is the quality of chaka. Usually it means generosity or knowing how to sacrifice for others. And this isn't just a material thing, it's much more on the level of the heart. We know that in society, because there are many different people with competing interests, there might be those people who don't like us or don't wish us well. But with chaka, you're not allowing your mind to fall into anger or negativity or seeking to get back at those sort of people. We just learn to develop generosity or charity in the heart, so that we're willing to be tolerant of others, accept them for the way they are, and let go of our anger. Just as if you were watching a couple of kids having a fight, you wouldn't get too angry about it because those are just kids fighting, and you don't take it too seriously. Similarly, when you practice chaka, you don't take the behaviour of other people too seriously, you don't get too worked up or angry by it, you can forgive them and let go. So if we practice mindfulness and clear comprehension, this allows us to look after the mind, keep it free from anger, and understand things better, understand ourselves better, understand other people better. We can also develop wise reflection, this quality dhamma vichaya, learning to wisely reflect on our experience so that we do understand things better. We can understand other people better, understand society better, and therefore free ourselves from suffering. So today I've just given you some more teachings on the practice. Nothing special. I don't have anything particular or special to offer you other than just sharing these words with you today. And I'd like to express my appreciation for all your efforts in the practice. May it be a support for your own success and happiness in the future. And may the kindness and compassion and wisdom of the Lord Buddha guide and support you in your practice in the future. May all the efforts that you put into the practice bring you to understand the truth and bring you to true peace and happiness in your hearts. So tomorrow I'll be leaving here to go back to Thailand, where I have to continue with my duties. So for now I'll just leave you with these teachings.